The second scrimmage for the Alabama Crimson Tide is officially in the books, and with that being said, I want to hear from y'all before we hop into talking about some tidbits from this scrimmage. Who are you most excited about seeing come A-Day next Saturday now that we have spring practices kind of more fully along and 2 scrimmages? Who are you most looking forward to come A-Day? I cannot wait to see what y'all are thinking there because there's a lot of different answers that I have for that very question. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification because I do constant college football content, player reviews, film analysis, talk style videos like this, and I'm on my push to 5,000 subscribers in my first year, and I would love to have you along for the journey because I have a lot of cool things planned for this channel. But with all of that being said, let's start it off with the quarterbacks, and we'll start with the presumptive starter in Bryce Young, whose fantastic spring apparently continues. Though he did throw an interception today, we also know that he had about 3 touchdown passes, which brings his spring scrimmage total to at least 8 that I know of. 5 last week. I had initially said 4 last week, and I was corrected. It was 5 last week, 3 this week that I know of, bringing his spring scrimmage total to 8 touchdowns. And from what we've heard from Saban, he's really impressed in every aspect. Saban said he managed the game well, meaning that he was able to keep up well with tempo and everything. He was very accurate, and he even said he was able to make a lot of explosive plays happen even with the Alabama first team defense and even some of the secondary guys on the second team defense, the pass rushers, being very impressive. That's something we're going to talk about here in a little bit about how incredibly phenomenal this pass rush group is for Alabama that doesn't get the love. But sticking with the quarterbacks, the other guy that got some mention was Jalen Milroe. Now, if you remember, I did a quarterback preview for the Alabama Crimson Tide, previewing the 3 guys that were going to be competing for the starting job with quarterback spotlight. Now, both of us agreed that we thought this was Bryce's job. Bryce has a natural talent that's just rare. Bryce's natural ability is just so hard to come by. He truly is a limitless quarterback when we're talking about throwing from a platform. His typical quarterback platform is completely thrown out the window, and he has the ability like a Russell Wilson, a Kyler Murray, and a Patrick Mahomes, not comparing him to any of those guys, but just there are quarterbacks in the league that don't have a typical platform. That's Bryce Young. But both of us kind of had a hot take that we thought Jalen Milroe could end fall camp as the second string quarterback, and it was nothing because of what Paul Tyson couldn't do. Paul Tyson, very talented guy, very capable quarterback. It was because of what Jalen Milroe can do. I think he's got a much more impressive arm than people give him credit for, though he still needs to come along in that aspect. I mean, it's to be understood. He's just coming from high school, right? I mean, completely where he should be. But apparently he's coming along quicker than I think a lot of the Alabama staff expected, and Saban even highlighting that he looked much better this week than he did last week, making some explosive plays with his legs. He's a guy we're going to have to watch out for. Keeping on the offensive side, Roydell Williams was apparently phenomenal as running back today, gaining over 100 yards and was one of the high points for all of the offensive units for the scrimmage. The Alabama Crimson Tide running back room is not something I'm worried about. This is going to be an incredibly talented unit, just absolutely stacked. This will be more of a running back by committee, but there are a lot of things you have to be excited about in this running back room. Remember what I always say about the wide receiver room, that you have stylistic differences that are going to give defense nightmares because defenses have to be honest to the ability of the receiver. And when you put a big body receiver out there with a speed guy, it gets very tricky in how they're going to break that down. Same can be said with the running back position. The Crimson Tide have a very interesting stable of guys. Very excited to see them come A-Day. I mean, take your pick. Roydell Williams, Keelan Robinson, Brian Robinson, Jace McClellan, Kamar Wheaton. This is a phenomenal group to look forward to in the fall, and I really can't wait to see what they do on A-Day. Kind of sticking with the offense, the wide receiver position is still a little bit up in the air. Not too many guys were praised there today, though Saban did say that this week they did look better, which could be, kind of word to what we talked about earlier with Javon Baker and Ziggy Williams. But here's what I do know. The tight ends continue to be very impressive. Cameron Latou has come on a long ways. He has been very impressive, and Jaleel Billingsley is going to set the nation on fire next year. This guy is a mismatch nightmare, and I always say it, when you have a brand new offensive coordinator, when you have a brand new offensive line, which the Crimson Tide returned some people, but a lot of talent gone off that offensive line, no doubt about it, and you lose your starting running back, if you want to have a successful offense with a very talented quarterback and be able to get them along quickly, get them in rhythm quickly, scheme for your tight end. And the Alabama Crimson Tide has unbelievable scheming ability at the tight end position with both Latou and Jaleel Billingsley. Both of those guys nabbing a touchdown today, along with Javon Baker adding in a touchdown as well. He's a guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing. I put a poll up and asked which wide receivers y'all were most interested in. I listed a bunch of guys, including the freshmen, and it was a split basically between the freshmen, but if I'm not mistaken, the majority ended up on Javon Baker, and I can't blame y'all. I'm incredibly excited to see him. He continues to be a bright spot in the offseason. Very excited to see what he can do in spring practice because I think he and Bryce Young are going to have a special connection. The last area we'll look at on the offense is the offensive line, and bad news here, 2 injuries to the offensive line, most notably Evan Neal. Now, we don't know what the extent of the Evan Neal injury is. The other injury was bone spurs, who Saban said could come back Tuesday, and that's looking very optimistic. Evan Neal, I hope, is okay. Saban didn't provide much about it. But in supplementation of Evan Neal, the first-team offensive line moved up Tommy Brockermeyer, which is very intriguing because he was a true freshman, and I've talked about here on this channel that J.C. Latham or Tommy Brockermeyer are going to get real looks at that offensive line position, especially at the guards. But with Evan Neal not being there, Brockermeyer being the guy that's called up to the first team. In the second team offensive line, we have J.C. Latham at right tackle. That's going to be something to watch. Super talented guy. I can't wait to see more of him. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, the one area I really want to focus on the defensive side, which is what I talked about at the beginning, is I think the Crimson Tide have one of the deepest position groups in all of the nation that doesn't get talked about, and that's this pass rushing group. Oh my God. I don't think we realize how much talent is here. I'm just going to walk you through 5 stars. 5-star Will Anderson, 5-star Chris Braswell, 5-star Drew Sanders, 5-star Dallas Turner. And then you look at the interior guys, 5-star LeBron Ray, 5-star Damon Payne, all the high-ranking 4-stars who easily could have been 5 stars. This Alabama defensive front, but specifically that pass rush group, might be the most stacked group in all of college football when you look at 5 stars relative to position. That group is nutty. And according to Saban, Chris Allen and Will Anderson continue to eat during spring. Y'all know me. Y'all know how high I am on Will Anderson. I made a video after his first college game, for God's sake, saying and declaring, this is going to be the best pass rusher in the SEC. He's got the quickest first step I've seen since Jadeveon. That's how high I was on this guy. He continues to terrorize this Alabama offensive line, and that's why it's kind of hard to tell where the offensive line is when you have a defensive front that is that talented. This Alabama defense is going to be special, and this Alabama pass rush might be the most talented unit in all of college football, and they're young, and they're not going anywhere. This is going to be a fun unit to watch, a lot of talent. But looking at the interior, I already said this is going to be a committee by rotation. Byron Young is a guy who, when I've been rewatching Alabama games, has been flashing off the screen to me. He's someone we really have to look forward to next year, and I'm very much well excited to see what he does in the spring game. The middle linebacker position continues to be manned by Christian Harris and Jalen Moody. I don't expect that to change come spring game. Jalen Moody has been taking the position and running with it, and I'm very excited to hear that. I'm very excited to see what Jalen Moody can do, and I'm really happy he's getting his opportunity because he's been a guy that's been really working and showing flashes when he gets his opportunity, so that's really cool to see. Really rooting for him. The secondary continues to feature Jalen Armour Davis working alongside Josh Jobe and Brian Branch in that defensive backfield, which isn't a surprise. JaQuincy McKinstry continues to make headway, but as of right now, the experience of these other defensive backs at Alabama is outweighing the talent of McKinstry, and that's to be expected, guys. This Alabama defensive scheme that they're running is not easy. I understand Malachi Moore came and learned it over Zoom, but that is not the standard. That is the exception. this is an incredibly difficult scheme, and the fact that McKinstry is as far along as he is and gets the praise that he did from Saban shows you how talented and what a bright future he has. But that's to be expected for a lot of guys in this defense, because this defense is going to be super savage, and I cannot wait to see it. I can't wait to hear what y'all are thinking. Who are you looking forward to come A-Day, and who's impressed you through the first 2 scrimmages? That's it. See ya.